Okay, for neutral spine drills, for phase 2, you're going to start in what's called 6-point. Now, 6-point is having 6 points of contact, active points of contact to the ground. So right now, Julian has his hands and knees on the ground, and his feet are rested, but that's not actually an active point of contact until he pulls his toes up and engages them. Go ahead. So now there's actually 6 points of contact, and that's important because we're going to increase the level of contact in your feet as you get better at this drill. So initially, and these are just estimations, you have 50% of the weight in your hands, 49% of the weight in your knees, and 1% of the weight in your toes. Okay, and really make sure that you're about 90 degrees at the hip. A lot of people, when they set up really far forward like that. Move your hands forward too. They set up really extended like this. You want to be, when somebody looks at your side profile, that you're nice and square on the side. Okay? From here, all you're going to try and do is what you're doing in the chair is arch the lowest section of your back until you feel compression and then round it. And if you notice, it's really pelvis driven. So it's arch, so you're tilting your pelvis forward and then round. The rest of the spine should not be moving. Okay? For a large majority of the people that I work with, when we initially try and start doing this, you arch and the whole back arches. No, other way. Arch this way. The whole back arches, so head comes up. And when you round and the whole back rounds. Okay? You'll notice it in your head movement. If you feel like your head is moving up and down, then your upper spine is moving. You're trying to, and what I often do with athletes is I'll hold on to their rib cage, and I don't want the rib cage to move at all. So you got to arch and then round without moving the rib cage at all. Biggest problem I see once people can start to isolate the low back is the expectation of movement. They trying to just move the spine too much. All these vertebrae are all connected. If you move it too much, you're going to force the rest of the spine to move. It really is a fine adjustment. So really make sure that you can master moving this part of the spine driven from the pelvis. So when you arch your back, you're actually activating these muscles here, and when you round your back, you're actually activating your lower abs to pull your pelvis back like that. So you can think about what you're activating there. Over time, if you can do the sets and reps, you want to increase the amount of pressure in your toes. So if we're starting with 1%, then we're going to move to 25% in the toes. So you're 50, 25, 25. Once you get good at that, 50, 1, 49. It's really important that you have 1 or 2% of the weight in your knees because when we transition to phase 3, which is knees up off the ground, you'll notice an exponential difference. So before you move to phase 3, you only have like 1% of the weight or 2% of the weight in your knees, and really making sure that you can arch and round. The thing you're going to notice where you get stuck is in knowing if you can move to the next phase is you have to be, this movement has to be fluid, and when you test yourself, move yourself on, what you're going to notice is there's a hesitation in the movement. You move a little bit, stop, move, stop, move, stop. And that hesitation is your nervous system learning. You can't go to the next phase until you really have fluid movement in your spine, okay? And then every time you apply more weight to your toes, you're going to see the hesitation comes back. Work with it until you can get the hesitation out, and that could take, 1 session, it could take 3 sessions, but because this is neurological learning, you can practice this every single day. And that, once you're at 49% of the weight in your toes and only 1 or 2 in your knees, and the movement is fluid, you can move to phase 3.